two couples. And then I want to let some of the younger ones, if they want to say something. I'm not going to put you on the spot too hard. Really and truly, this has been more for the younger couples than it has been. And this has been for us to learn from y'all. Let me just repeat this just for a minute. What was your life like? Chores, your daily life, however you want to go about that. School, summer, what your summers were like, your winters were like, what your Christmases were like, what the different times of the year, how it changed. Who all lived in your house? If that was besides, if I was doing mine, I'd tell you about my uncle, and then I'd tell you about my aunt and uncle that came to live with us for a while, and tell you about Mark Foshi and them when they come out and live with us in Oklahoma City and stuff like that. We had family that lived with us a lot. And then your neighbors, visiting your neighbors, stuff like that. What was that like for you? What was fun for you? What were things that you did for fun? Okay, somebody talked about rolling a tire down the road or kicking a can down the road. What was fun to you? What was discipline like in your house? Man, we have got a wide range of discipline stories from in here. That's probably been one of the things that's kind of shocked me as much as anything. Until I think back to my childhood, and then I'm like, well, my mom and daddy didn't know where I was at half the time either. I mean, literally didn't know where I was at. As long as I was in by dark, it wasn't too big of a deal. Now I couldn't drive or anything like that at that time, but still. What were the extras in your life? Things that you weren't used to, but every once in a while you got them. Maybe it was Christmas, maybe it was Thanksgiving, things like that. Maybe you got a toy every once in a while, or maybe you got a new pair of shoes or a new pair of jeans or something like that. Okay, or maybe you got candy and you didn't normally get it. You see what I'm talking about. Okay, your favorite stories as a child, who told you those stories, not necessarily don't even really have to be true. It could just be, I know Shelley's brother is a story-aholic. I mean, he just loves to tell stories. Some of them are totally true. Some of them are like stuff that Roger tells where the story itself is true, but some of the stuff he's added to it may or may not be, exactly the way that it happened. You understand what I'm saying? Just the facts. Just the facts. Yeah, so anyway, you get what I'm saying there. And it might involve you, it might not involve you at all. And then, we haven't talked a great deal about this, but some of you have thrown it in there. What were your Sundays like? And I want to ask that question before we get totally through with this to all of you that's spoken. What was church to you? Was it Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night? Was that even a thing back then? What was it? What was church for you? Was it every single time, every single Sunday morning? Was it when I was a kid, we didn't really go to church. I didn't start going to church until I got married. Okay? Whatever the case may be for you. This is not embarrassment. I just want to kind of see where we're coming from. Okay? And then the last question that I put on there was, what was church actually like? Now, you don't have to answer that question tonight. Okay, but I want you to be thinking about that question. What was church like for you? What was the service like for you? Okay, I've got a church pew on my front porch that I can go out there and sit in it and be just as comfortable as I'm in one of these padded back chairs. It fits me, it fits my body perfectly. And it don't have a pad one on it. It's just an old wooden bench. And then I turn it over, and on the back of it, I think it came from. 'From. from. 'From. 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 Yeah, anyway, church, something Rock Church. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know where the road turns.
Yeah, when you're going from Umpire to Wicks, it turns to the left. I can't think of the name of the church, but it's something Rock Church. And when we got ready to build this church, we had gone down to that church. Me and Shelley had gone down to that church, and they had a big, nice pavilion out there that we really liked. But anyway, so think about that kind of stuff. And you know, I can just imagine the memories of people who sat in that church pew. But anyway, all right. So Gary and Langley, y'all are up. We don't have to get to Roger and Jeannie tonight, unless y'all are on vacation or something next week. So you take your time. We got all the time we need, and you know, I've just decided we're just gonna let this play out, and let's go with it. Now you're acting like my kids at school. Y'all gonna have to start talking. Oh, we want a deal. Yeah.
That's what they wait for.
Yeah, they wait for that microphone. I want to see Gary do this right here while he's talking. Well, Hunter likes that microphone. Yeah. All right.
Well, I was born in Glenwood and lived in Langley all my life till I got married. Never been out of the state of Arkansas till I got married. And around our houses, when we got up, you made your bed. When you ate, you washed your dish and put it up. We caught the bus really early too, and
What was the bus like for you? Was it a real bus?
Yeah, it was a bus, and Leroy was our driver at Langley, and we used to really aggravate him, and he would aggravate us too, though. And we asked him, me and Mary Golden, and he thought, I think it was Miss Adcock, wasn't it? If she was pretty, and he said yes, so we had to go tell her that Leroy said she was really pretty. I don't know if she ever said anything to him or not. And when he didn't drive, my dad drove. And it was be like dark when we would get up to, when we started Kirby, it did. I went for first and second was together in Langley. And I think I had Miss Dunson, I had Marie, I had Pete Austin, and Mildred Austin. And I think there might have been a couple more. But that, while she was teaching us, there might be 4 people in our class. I mean, I was in one class, I think there was 2 of us. And so when she taught them, we were doing just work, and then when the same reverse whenever it went the other way. And for fun, it was always, because me and James was the oldest, because there's like 6 years between me and my other sister, and then 12 years between the rest of us. But anyway, we would go down to the creek a lot. I don't know how we kept from getting snake bit. And we would catch water dogs. And we played with them and crawfish. And he never would play dolls. So I always had to play cars and trucks or cowboys and Indians. And we'd make robes and, and grade them. And we'd have our cars and chicken house. We always worked in the chicken house. I shoveled a lot of chicken stuff. My dad had a spreader and I had to go too. And watering chickens, and I tell my sisters and them, man, it's not fair because we didn't have a water hose. We had to pick them up and take them to the water fountain and then put them back. And my brother would never work with me, and he would take one house and me the other, and we'd race to see who could get done the fastest. And one time, I don't remember how we got them. We had some firecrackers. And we got down in the curve there where that road goes up there. And a car would come by and we'd throw them out. And we had several people that would pull over and stop and get out and look at their tires, We thought that was the funniest thing. And we stayed on the creek a lot. And then as soon as the apples started growing big enough to eat, we would climb the apple trees and we would eat the apples, green apples. I don't know how we kept from dying from the stomachache. And then one day he decides, we had a cow that we milked, and he decided he's going to ride her calf. So we got him out there. he didn't stay on there long. And I decided I didn't want to. And our dad, he used to take us fishing. And he would always stop at the store and get crackers and sardines. And I hated them sardines. Ugh. And, you know, we'd be gone all day. You either eat them or you're hungry. But they always gave me the fishing pole that wouldn't throw out. You had to pull the line out and drop it by the boat. Always got the one that didn't work. And one time we were down there and he seen a snake and he decides he's going to get it with the motor. Well, we're close to a little island and the thing comes in the boat, so him and James jump out of the boat on the island and leave me in there with the snake. But it did get out of the boat, thank goodness. And we got to go to the Langley store once in a while. I didn't even know what McDonald's was or any of them things. We never went out to eat. And we would get a Coke and he would buy peanuts and we'd put peanuts in it. That was our treat. And that wasn't very often either. And for Christmas, we might get one or two things, but that was it. I remember one time I got a big old doll. Oh, I was so proud of it. But James would never play with me with my doll. And in the summertime, we never wore shoes.
Yeah.
I could walk on them rocks. I can't do that now, but I could then. And every evening, we knew that when we done what we supposed to do in the garden, he didn't use insecticides. We had to pick the potato bugs off the potatoes and squash bugs. We had to get all that stuff. And we'd put them in a can and we would get it hot and watch them die. That's how we killed them. And then we all loaded in the back of the pickup, took our shampoo and a bar of soap, and we went to the Jim Creco.
Yeah.
And everybody in the whole community would be there. That was our gathering place every day during the summer. You could just about see everybody there. And we just couldn't wait on that every day. And church, we didn't really, my mom and dad didn't go to church. And I started coming with Oscar and I. They got me into church. And I remember a few times I walked up there to their house to go to church, and sometimes they'd come pick me up. And I remember Bercy so well because one time I was out here in the ground, there was some ground wasps and they stung me all over. And she put snuff on it. She dipped snuff, so she put snuff on them, said that would help it. And I remember the first time, I can't remember that song, but you know the song she would always shout at. She scared me to death the first time she ever did that. I didn't know what was going on.
Shelley's brother can relate to that.
And then finally, my mom and dad got into church. And then my dad got back out of church. But at Sunday dinners, it seemed like to me every Sunday we got to have chicken. We did get to have chicken, fried chicken. And we didn't visit too much. They was always working in the chicken house or something to be done, you know. And we had to do the garden too, pick it and shell the peas or, you know, whatever you had to do to it. And then came along my sister, and then I was 12 when my youngest sister was born. I learned how to wash out dirty diapers and all that good stuff. So anyway, and I was a rebellious teenager, I'll say that. Me and my mom did not get along. Finally, and I met him at the skating rink, and we got to dating and everything. My mom didn't want me to date him.
What skating rink?
Kirby. Yeah, he was from Murfreesboro and I was from Kirby. Finally, now they decided that, like I said, I was very rebellious. I ran off, and then they decided they'd let us get married, and so I got married very young at 16. Yeah. And I had my first one at 17. So we kind of grew up together. I did finish. I got my GED. It went out.
Hunter. Hey. Stop. Hi. Oh, hi.
Is it on?
Yeah.
And so we did get married, and then, you know, my mom worked, but I learned to cook because I had to do the cooking at night. And, so every night I cooked supper. One night I can very remember my dad told me I cooked macaroni and cheese. And he always called me sis, and he looked at me and he said, sis, I just can't eat this. I cooked it so long it was mushy. But, yeah, and then after got married, we lived in Houston, and, where else we lived? Tooks, Texas, and I hadn't even been out of state Arkansas till then, so, yeah. But, yeah, we didn't do anything for, go anywhere or nothing. Well, first time I went to Nashville, and I seen a black person, I was shocked. What is that? What's wrong with them? I wanted to know what was wrong with them. Oh, and my dad used to trap, and he would catch coons, and we would take them, he'd leave a foot on them, and we took them to Nashville down there, or no, it was Murfreesboro, and we sold them for 50 cents a piece to them. And they said, he always left a foot, so they would know it wasn't a cat, that they would know it was a coon. So, yeah, so, and then.
What did they use it for?
They eat it. They eat it.
Coon to them with the foot on it?
Right, he skinned them and he sold the furs.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah, he sold the meat to them,
I
yeah,
thought they
yeah.
just meant the feet.
No, he sold the whole meat, and they would always want to know when he was coming back.
Yeah.
But he trapped all winter long, so, yeah, I had a good childhood. I don't know, everybody else said I was a hillbilly because I never come out of the hills. That's what they said, but, and TV was black and white, no air, you had the window up. We didn't even have a fan, and the TV, I remember too, would have rabbit ears, and like you said, he had an antenna, and he'd go turn it to watch one channel or turn it to watch another, but we didn't get to watch much TV, so.
Yeah.
But we always had something we had to do, and then he had all that land cleared, and we had to pile all the brush, me and James, so.
Yep.
It's just, but then my grandmother, she had a stroke, and she lived with us for a while till my mom couldn't take care of her no more. And they put her in a nursing home. She was very young, like 56. And then my grandpa lived with us for a while till he went to the nursing home. But that's the only ones that ever lived with us. So, yep.
All right.
Yep.
Gary?
I was born in Asheville, Arkansas, and by the time I was 2 or 3 months old, we moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My dad was a teletype operator, and he directed the airplanes in and out of the airports when they runway they was on and so forth like that. And I remember Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, my mother going to the doctor, going down a long steep hill and then right into the parking lot. There was a black building. Now, I was only 2 or 3 months old, but I remember that just. Well, I was about 2 or 3 months old or so, but I remembered that.
Yeah.
My mother said that was right.
Yeah.
How I remember that, I don't know, but I remember that. Then by the time, before I turned a year old, we moved to San Antonio, Texas. He transferred down there. And down there we had a pretty good life down there. My father made, pretty good money then. And we was in Cub Scouts and we did everything like that. My father made a teepee for us at the canvas, and we thought that was the neatest thing. He made it just like the Indians.
Yeah.
And we played with that all the time. Then we moved to Wetmore, just out of San Antonio, and we moved up to, we rented a spot for Miss Stein, and she was a German, and she could make the best coffee cakes and molasses cookies. Boy, it was good. I wish somebody would make something like she could. But we didn't have that many chores, but we had a lawnmower, the kind, I don't know if y'all seen it, but when you push it, it would mow the grass. It didn't have a motor. We was the motor.
Yeah. Had the little cutter on it.
Yeah, the cutter on the spun. So we'd mow the yard, Miss Stein's yard, and we was barely big enough to push it.
Yeah.
And now down there in San Antonio, Texas, it had the scorpions and the lizard with horns on it. It looked like a dinosaur, horn-toed lizard, what it called. And we played with them all the time. And we had some friends down the road, Gary and Michael Sledge, and we went down there all the time, played with them. And one evening, Daddy said, get ready, we're gonna go down there. So I run in the house, and we always take our shoes and hit them on the floor to make sure a scorpion wasn't there. I forgot about it. I just stuck my foot in there, and I would roll across the floor just scraping. Oh, the worst thing I ever had in my life with that stinging scorpion. And I've never been stung like that before. And had the diamondback rattlesnakes down there, we'd have to watch for those diamondback rattlesnakes. And every evening, we'd drive around, there's about a 6 mile loop. We'd drive around and we'd see 100-something deer. We'd count the deer. And we'd see rattlesnakes, big centipedes, about a foot long. And we used to enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
And we'd watch cowboys shows like Paladin and Gunsmoke and like that, you know. We always outside playing Cowboys Indians. And one of the best Christmas I remember, we wasn't very old, but Daddy got us a set of pistols, cat pistols, and they had real pearl handles. It wasn't plastic, it was real pearl, and those guns were metal. And the cats back then now, you had to watch them because they was real powerful. I broke my fingers many times on those caps. We used to wear the cap guns out playing Cowboys Indians. And we also liked the cop shows, and we'd get a bicycle and we'd bend the cardboard over and we'd get a clothespin and stick on the front tire, and as we went around, they'd make a racket, you know.
Yeah.
Faster you go, it sounded like we had a siren going just like the cops did, you know. We'd hide one of them, trace one of them. And then, we moved back to, Murfreesboro, Arkansas, and, Daddy, my grandpa had given my dad 80 acres to land across the river. One thing we did on the weekends, Daddy had an old John Deere tractor, one with a flapper on it. Well, I can hear that thing running down. It was plop, 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 you know. And a two-wheel trailer. And we'd get in that trailer and we'd go around and we'd ford the river, we'd go across the river up the bank. And we'd help Dad clear land. We did that over there. And we always took pinto beans, and Daddy baked a spoon out of a limb. And that afternoon we'd get to go fishing in the river, catfishing in the river. And always had to work in the garden. And we always had to hold the vines back so Daddy tilled the garden. And Daddy got the idea he's gonna make a bomb shelter. And so we didn't have the money to hire somebody to dig it out, so we was digging it out. Every evening got into school, we had a pick and shovel. And it was gravel, rocks, and we'd till out, wheel out with a wheelbarrow. My brother got out of it a lot of times, and my father let him get out of it, and I was doing that every weekend. Every evening, I liked that. You know, it's hard work, and I liked it. I lift the weights a lot and run a lot, and I stayed in shape during the summer. I'd haul hay. And the school, like in San Antonio, Texas, the school was a lot more professional than it was in Arkansas.
Yeah.
We had tours, we had things to do, and they taught a lot more than they did in Arkansas. In fact, it was about the fourth, fifth grade before they finally caught up with what we was learning in the first and second grade in Texas.
Yeah.
And Coker Elementary was everybody Longhorn fans, and we just a white Longhorn shirt with a red Texas bull on it, and we thought we was something. I didn't become an Arkansas Razorback fan until we moved to Arkansas.
You got smart though.
Yeah.
You got your eyes open.
Yeah. Now, my grandpa owned the 10-acre lake that I own now, and we'd go fishing, and he'd cut us a cane pole and trim limbs off and let it dry out. And we'd get a line and then tie it to the top of it, come down when you swing it back, it'd be right here where you catch it. You swing it out, you could fish probably 10 feet from the bank, I guess, when you swing it out right. And we'd catch a big fish, we'd pull the thing up, and the pole would be down here, we couldn't get it out, so we had to back out the bank to get the fish out, out of the lake. Because it was heavy, you couldn't pull up with a cane pole. And got a little older, my dad we got a paper route. It was the Arkansas Gazette paper route. And we did that for about 3 years. We'd get up early in the morning for like 4 o'clock in the morning and deliver papers and go to school. And discipline, my father did all the discipline. He did.
Drag him out from under the bed.
My mother, she'd use the tongue lashing, and my father used a leather belt.
Yeah.
And, I'd get under bed, he'd drag me out and give me a good whooping, where he'd just act like he'd give my brother a whooping, he'd be spoiling, carrying on, he never did get a good whooping, I always got a good whooping. And I never would cry, and he tried his best to make me cry, I never would cry, it didn't matter what he did, I would not cry.
My daughter.
I'd go to school with webs on my back and my legs, but, you know, all that made me respect my dad that much more. My dad, I always would say he was the smartest man I ever knew. When I was going to college, it was something I didn't understand, well, I'd come back and he'd show me how to do it. And he went to, Texas Tech, he was Texas Tech Red Raider. And so when Arkansas and Texas Tech played, he's always from Texas Tech, I was from Arkansas.
Yeah.
Now, another show we used to watch was Three Stooges. I don't know if everybody ever watched Three Stooges. Now, I'll tell you what.
And he still watches them.
I still watch
And
them.
so does he.
And, before we moved back to Arkansas, my dad was building a house. He built it by himself, but he did hire some work done. But the carport had about a 4 foot, this elevator down 4 foot from the floor. And my dad had a ladder leading up to on the roof down on the carport. And we was watching Tarzan swinging on the vines. And my brother, he decided he run out, took off running. I didn't know what he was doing. He jumped on the back of that ladder and screwed up under it. He hit the concrete floor and busted his head over about 5 stitches in his head. We was always in doing something.
Yeah.
And there in Murfreesboro was the old place. You'd come down the hill and it's got a little curve at the hill there, and down the highway down that hill was big oak trees. I mean, big ones. And my father had this bicycle, and it was metal, and it's real heavy. And I always would beat everybody. We would race down Mary Stewart Hill, and I never lost a race because you got that bicycle going. It's so heavy. I just automatically beat everybody. Anyway, we started down that hill. My brother said, "Here, you drive," and I was on handlebars. I said, "I can't drive." He turned loose the handlebars, and I was going down through there, and we centered down one of those oak trees and broke that bicycle right in half. We was always doing something.
I got y'all to park in the truck and then at night.
Oh, you want to tell that? Well, Dad would park the car and truck, and we had a standard, and we'd sneak out there like 3 in the morning, and we'd push it down there and got started down the hill. We'd pop the clutch and we'd go down, ride around.
3 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shame.
Yeah, we do a lot of things. And one day, we did that, and we went up to the hills, and had a low water bridge, and didn't have concrete in it at the bottom then. We got stuck there and had to walk about 4 or 5 miles back to the house. We got in trouble. They called us in.
Yeah. You did get in trouble.
Yeah. And we always, I really enjoyed going to church with the Methodists. My grandpa was a Methodist preacher, and he also was 3/4 cattle Indian. And Sundays we'd have singings, and I just love those singings.
Yeah.
All the rest of the kids would be outside playing, I'd be in there listening to singing. And Aunt Inez had a, what's it called? Anyway, it's, you push together and make music, you know, and you had
Accordion.
yeah. She played accordion, father played the guitar, and Miss Coker played the piano. And my Aunt Inez had a record, she could really sing.
Yeah.
And I just love that singing. And then my grandpa being 3/4 cattle Indian, he taught me to hunt. And when we moved back to Arkansas, we was real poor. So the only time we had meat to eat was on Sunday. And I'd go out and kill squirrels and deer all year round to eat. And I was talking to James, and when James, about that time, James said there wasn't no deer up here. Well, we had plenty of deer down around Murfreesboro, but James said there wasn't any deer up here at that time.
Yeah.
If somebody said a track, it probably Leroy knows is you run the track out so nobody know it. Hide the track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guess I'll let them
Hold on just a second.
Okay.
Anybody got any questions?
I wanna know what a water dog is.
It's a black looking lizard, but they're in the water, and they also were striped ones. There's also striped ones, but you didn't mess with them because they say they bite, so we catch the black ones.
It get up 4 legs.
They're
Yeah.
extremely good fish bait.
Yeah, they got 4 legs, they're black, they look like a lizard to me, yeah.
Do we have
It's
some
like a
else?
salamander.
Yeah, you still got
Yeah,
them.
like a
So they got
salamander.
short legs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got a little bitty
but,
short
but
legs.
the bodies are big and fat.
They look like a pygmy lizard, like some,
Yeah,
like
something
weird
like
looking
that.
lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got gills.
When they first started paving roads and they made real deep ditches, that's where we found ours. We call
Yeah.
them bar ditches. Did y'all do that? I don't know.
They call them bar ditches out west.
They call them bar
Anyway,
ditches.
when it
Bar ditches
rained,
in
those
Texas
were
too.
full.
I've never heard
full
of
of
that.
those.
Green Acre, I've never heard that. I didn't tell you about this one in my house. My dad never disciplined, but one time, we were jumping on the bed, my mom told him to go in there and whoop us. And he didn't even hurt us, and I cried like he killed me. But my mom, she make you go get a switch. And she wore you out with that switch. Let me tell you, I went to school with stripes too. Nowadays, if you did that, we know where you'd be, but yeah, when she called you, you better come.
That's what Elaine does too. She's got her mom.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Her mom.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that.
One thing I will say about it, the discipline, even though it was pretty bad back then, you know, like people were thrown in jail for doing what our parents did, give us whooping back then. But it's made us a lot more respectful to them. And, you know, I love my dad. You know, he gave me some good whoopings, but I still love my dad. I had a lot of respect for my dad when I grew up.
But you also knew right from wrong.
We knew right
You
from
know,
wrong.
if wrong came, there was consequences.
Yeah.
I tell you, if I do something wrong now, I can still feel that belt on my back. So I learned to do right.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing. That's one thing I think they need more nowadays. But
Yeah.
maybe not as bad.
I mean, you knew what was coming.
Yeah.
You knew.
And that's why you didn't do it, because you knew
Right.
that there was gonna be a consequence.
We didn't do it.
And you had to go get your own switch, and it better be a good one. You had to go get your own switch, and it better be a good one, or you got even more whooping.
Oh, yeah. You bring back a limb,
Right.
just to be kind of funny about it, you know, they don't take kind of.
And another thing about my mom is she said you did it whether you did or not.
Yeah.
Because I remember one time my brother set the quilt on fire. We was playing with matches, and he told her, he said that I did it. So she whips me really, really good too. And then after that, I said, why you didn't tell her you did it? He said, I just didn't want to whoop him. He told me I'm sorry.
Did she ever figure out that it wasn't you that did it?
Yeah, I think she did later, yeah.
That kind of goes back to Roger's story about her re-whooping him,
Yeah.
thinking he gave it.
I'm gonna tell you one more story. And this, we used to raise stogie ducks, and they was mean.
What?
Mean ducks. Stogie ducks.
Okay.
We call them stogie ducks. Stogie. I probably pronounced it wrong, but anyway,
We got all dressed, we both had some hands.
yeah, they was mean. And some reason we was gone. My mother went out there to feed them. She went out there to her house coat.
Oh, I was out there with.
Was you out
She
there
just
with
came
her?
out there, yeah.
You probably tell it better than I can. He was out there.
Yeah. One of those ducks, they're big, they were big ducks, jumped on her and got hung in her house coat. And she was flying round and round and round. It finally came off, but it took a long time.
And my father got this billy goat.
Oh.
Oh, that billy goat was mean. And we raised rabbits, and Elaine and I went out there, and I got away from her, and she says, it's raining. She held her hand out like that. I said, no, it's not raining. She looked over that billy goat and had his leg up, and he was peeing all over her.
Every time I went out and he was around close to me, he peed on me. Every time. I didn't understand that. But he did. I thought it was raining or something. Is it raining? No, I looked and there he is. mean, he was really mean. And finally, my father-in-law got rid of him, he butted him down, so he said he gotta go.
Oh, buddy. Any more questions for him?
So when did y'all move to Benton? Is it Benton that y'all moved here from, or where y'all?
It was 1981.
Yeah.
I went over there and, I was out of a job and Richard Loomis from D-Light, he went over there and he started his insulation company. And, he needed some people to insulate the schools. We made fireproof insulation. And he found out I was a hydraulic mechanic in Houston, Texas. And, I built blow fitters from that Hammond schematic. I just built it from start to finish, did all the welding and everything. And, I built a $10 million installation plant for him. And had one guy helping him put the equipment in place. I built was kicking out 2.5 bags of insulation a minute. And I built the hammer mills and all that. And, it's 1981 we went over there.
But we're glad to be back up here.
And where did you work, Elaine?
I worked at Windsor Door in Little Rock, where they make garage doors.
And y'all have been married 50 years?
Be 50 years the 1st of March. I became a grandma at 38. Yeah.
Where'd you get married?
Where? Texas.
50 years when?
March 1st.
March 1st.
Okay.
Like I said, we just grew up together.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
And had a lot of fun too.
Yeah, sounds like that too. Anybody else?
What was y'all's wedding like? Did y'all have?
Justice of the peace.
Do what? What was the
Justice
question?
of the peace. What was the
Oh,
wedding
what was the
like?
wedding like? You know, we hadn't asked hardly anybody that, have we?
Yeah, we didn't have a wedding, it was just justice of the peace.
That wasn't not normal back then, was it? I mean, wasn't that fairly common?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
When y'all got married, where did you live?
Here,
With your mom and dad?
yeah.
Cause I remember, I spent a lot of time over at your house, and I remembered you being there, but I don't guess I remember the marriage part. I
Yeah.
remember when you had your first baby.
Yeah, yeah.
We were
I
there.
heard one about Amanda, I can't remember that.
Elaine.
Elaine's mom and daddy.
Hold on, give me the microphone.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta have it. Give it to Dorothy, she'll hold it up there. I want this on.
No, Martin and Amanda, Elaine's mom and daddy, and, they're two of the best people you'll ever know. And, Elaine is just like her mom. I don't know if Gary was like her daddy or not. Martin, he was real quiet, easy going, not really say anything. Well, they used to give cows at the sale barn down there. And Vernon came in and got him a new cow. Well, I was working down there doing something, I don't remember what it was. Anyway, they didn't know I was anywhere around. And I just walked in and they was in the kitchen. And Amanda was tearing him up about that cow. The first time I ever heard Martin really raise his voice. He said, "Lavanda, I can get me a cow when I get ready." I raise these cows and I get me a cow. I just one thing come up. I remember about Martin and Lavanda. They were good people, good neighbors. Through this thing.
All right, anybody else? Question or any other comments, kind of like that was?
What was your holidays like back then?
We had Thanksgiving dinner, and sometimes Daddy kills turkey. We had Thanksgiving dinner with, and we always had Christmas. But most of the time, as I remember, is Christmas was just spent us at the house, and because he had chickens, you couldn't go off and leave. So we never went on vacation. I remember one time we went camping, and they stretched plastic up over some sticks or some poles, and that was our tent, you know,
Yeah.
and we stayed one night. I don't know why we did that, but we did. I remember one time too, talking about cows. My dad and them put up cows and they was giving them shots, and he had a mean old cow. And he done got after my dad and me and everything, and I said, they told us we could go to the house, and I said, don't let that cow out till I get to the house. My mom, she lets the cow out, of course. That cow come around that chicken house, and it seen me, and I'm looking at it, and it's looking at me, and here it come at a full run. I had to jump. I don't know how I got over that barbed wire fence, but I did. I cut my knee wide open. And I said, Mom, why did you, oh, that cow's not gonna bother you. About the next week or so, no, I had a baby calf later on. That thing got my dad. He went to sell barn.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, anybody else? All right, appreciate y'all too. Appreciate it very much. We will conclude next week with Roger and Jeannie. And we'll do that. We'll have our business meeting. And I'm looking forward to going back through all this.